September. So shit'll keep calling you.
It's perfectly fine. I was just like, oh my god, I know I'm running late for this show, but my life needs to get together real quick.
How you doing today?
Better than I was earlier today. How are you doing today, Kiara?
That is always great. Better. I can say better than I've been doing the past few days.
I guess today's topic is the best topic for both of us today. Then,
guys, it's your girl BMF Goddess. You already know, with my returning co-host Kiana. Why I said Kiana? Kiara. Sorry.
My name changed.
It's the meds. Oh man, they got me on some bullshit meds, but they still make me sleepy. Anyway,
today you guys get to know the inner, deeper us, the mental us.
Yeah, guys, we're gonna be talking about mental health, the stigmas, the facts, the things that aren't easy to speak about, especially if it's something that you personally go through or watch somebody close to you go through.
Yeah.
There are more than 200 classified forms of mental illness. Some of more common disorders are depression, bipolar disorder, dementia, schizophrenia, and anxiety disorders. Symptoms may include changes in mood, personality, personal habits, and or social withdrawal.
This includes a lot of things that I have.
Yeah. The most common health disorders are anxiety, mood, psychotic, and eating disorders.
So, let's see. The reason why we decided to pick this topic is I know that when I first decided to, when I first agreed, because not like I decided to do a podcast, you asked and I agreed, and I was like, yeah, that sounds dope, why not? You were like ready to reschedule because you were like, you weren't up to it, and I was like, nah, I know those feels, we're not doing those feels, we're not giving into those feels, we're doing this podcast, and you were like, alright, fine.
For the record, guys, I recently fractured my elbow, and it has been extremely difficult for me to adjust, just because I'm not the type of person. I'm active in a productive manner. I'm always working, and I happen to fuck up the arm that I actually use. My main arm, the arm that I write with, that I paint with, that I make videos with. So it hasn't been easy for me to just sit down and relax. I mean, my boyfriend argued with me. I don't even know how many times already for me to sit the fuck down and let him do it. It's hard for me. So I was going through depression, and that's another. I don't have the mental disorder, but I have the type of depression that the average person goes through from time to time.
You have what we call seasonal depression.
Just a sprinkle here and there.
Yeah. Seasonal depression is not necessarily, at least from what I understand, I don't know if that's the actual definition. What I understand, it's more like when the weather severely changes out of nowhere, it tends to really mess with people, and it kind of just brings them down. So it's like, especially like recently, it went from like okay cold to blizzards out of nowhere when we didn't even get this much snow in the actual winter, like all the holiday seasons.
It be like that. January, February, always the worst.
Yeah. For me, it's every season.
I feel you.
It's every June, every October, every January, March is I've taken all of my years to study which months are the worst for me, like, so I can like run away from people.
Fucking pussy.
No, well, that's good. You're like me then, because my misery does not like company. If I'm feeling the way I'm feeling, I don't want to be. I don't want to talk. I don't want to people. Feel me?
That's all right. I understand that. So I am going to warn you guys. Today I decided to get out of the house because one of the reasons why I chose this topic, because Goddess did ask me which topic I decided to do, and I was like, we're going to do mental health, because it's a topic that means the world to me, because I've been diagnosed with several different disorders. I advocate for this all the time. I think people should, at the very minimum, get diagnosed. So I decided to come out today, and I came out to one of my safe bubbles, one of my places that I hide away to, and that no one will ever know. And sometimes that means that the person that I run away to gets loud in the background.
And I have to say, Kiara, that I am really thankful for you sharing, because I know it's not an easy thing to do, and you could touch somebody. Your story could be a mold for somebody listening, anywhere in the world. Once I put it on YouTube, and it could just really impact somebody's life. So that means a lot. Thank you.
So, I think what we'll start with this is my story. So I was 18, 19 when I got diagnosed. I was in an abusive relationship, and believe it or not, the boyfriend at the time was the one who convinced me to go to the hospital and tell them, hey, I was thinking of killing myself, even though I wasn't yet, just so I can go get diagnosed. And I was like, but there's nothing wrong with me. Why would I go? Blah, blah, blah. And he was like, I mean, we have nowhere else to go right now, so let's just do it. So he convinces me to go in, and I stay for 2 weeks. When you first go in, they keep you for 2 weeks for evaluation. They have to study your habits. Now, I was already a heavy cigarette smoker, and I loved to be outside. So being indoors without cigarettes for 2 weeks was already making me very antsy, very impatient, very kind of just...
You get agitated.
Get out. Yeah, I was like, I couldn't deal with people. So I could already kind of see that. But those 2 weeks pass eventually, and I get diagnosed with bipolar manic depression, meaning I can have really high highs where I can't sleep, where I get really hyper, I get really off track, I get even to make reckless decisions, or I get really depressed, I don't want to move out of bed, etc. I got diagnosed with 5 different things. I got diagnosed with manic depression, anxiety disorder, OCD, what was it? What was the other thing? There's also, something else, and then, an adjustment disorder. Adjustment disorder is the one that not a lot of people know what it is. So I looked it up on Google for a valid definition. Adjustment disorder is a group of things. But to simplify it, it's basically anything that can make people feel more stressed or sad or hopeless. Anything that just can stress you out. It makes you feel 2 times, 3 times much more that normal reactions that you would have are amplified reactions. So.
Oh, okay. I think a lot of people probably don't even know. Because I know a few people are like that. Sorry.
I don't know if you've ever seen me react to something, and you're it looks like I snapped at someone.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
And then you'd be like, why is she snapping at her like that? Why is she coming at her like that? It's never that I'm coming at someone like that. It's just it's kind of like defining it as looking at someone like they're stupid when they're not stupid. It's just me questioning someone because I don't know what it could be. But it's just I overreact without meaning to overreact. That's the simplest way to define it. It's anything can make me feel stressed. I always feel like someone could be questioning me and I have to question it right back.
Yeah. Gotcha.
as, as you can hear with how I talk.
Guys, 1 in 5 Americans have experienced some form of mental illness, with 1 in 25 experiencing serious mental illness, such as bipolar or schizophrenia. That's a lot, man. It's pretty common, these things. People don't normally, educate them. For those that don't know, I am a major in psychology, so I'm familiar with most of these terms, and it's literally, I could say, one of the, because I've taken several trades, but it's literally one of the most difficult things to learn, because there are so many terms and so many disorders and definitions, and it's a lot. It's a lot. And everyday people like you and me don't, you know, if we don't educate ourselves on these things, you won't really understand people in a way that others can't. That is like the main reason I went into the field, is because I want to understand people for, their actions. So, what makes them tick, basically.
For me, it was the opposite. I decided to study myself as much as possible, and then study those around me, see how they interact.
And that's good, yeah.
Yeah, I observe both.
You
I observe
better understand
people
yourself.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's like you have to care about yourself, right? Because who do you hang out with the most? Yourself. So you also have to care about the people who are around you, because they affect you. They affect your moods. You have to see how people interact around you. So, of course, it's something that I'm going to look at. Oh my goodness, Gizmo. Gizmo is my friend's cat, and he hopped over my PlayStation. I got scared for a second. Also hopped over my cup of tea. I got scared for a second.
That's cute. And the thing is that, most people who are diagnosed with a certain mental disorder, they usually don't come with just one. It's usually multiple. And sometimes, how will you call it? Sometimes symptoms can vary. So it might seem like it's one thing mixed with another thing, which is why it takes several experiments to even come out with a conclusion. And if one doctor tells you this, then I suggest you get another opinion.
What makes me laugh, not laugh ha ha funny, but laugh ironic funny, is when I look at my medication, right? I look at the symptoms for everything. I look at the side effects for everything, because, again, I study myself, and I like to know what's going into my body, what could happen. So when I look at the side effects of my depression medication, one of the side effects is it can severe anxiety. So I look at the side effects of my anxiety medication. One of the side effects is it can severe your depression. So I'm like, oh, well, I guess it's a good thing that they prescribed me medication that can, negate the side effects of the other thing. Because I also have other diagnoses, such as the adjustment disorder. Symptoms of the adjustment disorder are anxiety attacks. Not anxiety attacks, is anxiety. Another thing is I do tend to withdraw from society sometimes. I don't want to be around people. Another symptom from it is I have palpitations. Palpitations mean little baby heart attacks. It means I feel like I can't breathe sometimes. It feels like my heart feels like it's going to beat out its chest sometimes. Things like that.
Some people get that on weed or too many meds. Yeah.
Word, potheads. You remember the first time you ever smoked in public, how your heart felt? I get that just by walking upstairs sometimes. I get that from just overthinking about what I'm aware during the day. I'm kidding. It's never about something that simple. But some days it could be. It could be something as simple as the smallest change in my life could trigger. I'm just thinking about about that feeling, and I'm already feeling that little beat in my chest. It hurts. Yeah. It can cause. The thing about mental illnesses is that it can cause problems in relationships with people. Not even just the physical harm. Let's stay on the mental aspect of it first. It can cause problems in your relationships. It can cause problems for you at work. It can cause problems for you in school. Like when I used to work, there used to be like time. At first, it used to be I'd go every day when I first started working. Then 2 years passed. I'd go every couple of weeks. Then another year passed. I only started going every month. Then another year passed, and I almost wasn't going at all unless my boss called me and she's like, "I need you in today." You know, like my boss knew that I had severe mental problems, so she wasn't firing me because she knew that as soon as she called me, I was there and I did everything she needed and I was on point with my job. Only because I needed to be, at work. But otherwise, I wasn't going in because I was dealing with so much at home. I was dealing with so much in my head. I was like, it's hard, even when you're dealing with medication, even when you're doing your doctor's appointments, and even the amount of doctor's appointments sometimes, because you're dealing with therapists, you're dealing with a psychiatrist, and sometimes you're dealing with 2 appointments a week or 1 appointment right after the other, and it can get really overwhelming on top of trying to live a regular life and hearing people tell you, oh, it's you're gonna do what you're gonna be fine, it's okay. Those aren't things you want to hear. You want to hear some sort of advice. You want to hear some way to deal with it, and no one knows how to deal with it because it's your head. Only you know how to deal with it. You know what works best for you.
Right.
It gets so overwhelming.
No, I completely agree. And even people without mental disorders can relate to this type of stuff as well. Over the last 2 decades, the suicide rate in the U.S. has increased, making it the leading cause of death in our country. That's a lot. Suicide now claims more lives than automobile accidents each year, and some leaders in the mental health field feel that our deteriorating mental health system is partially to blame. And that's something that we really, really need in this world. It's very important. Because without people knowing what's their issues and not being able to solve them, it's dangerous.
Honestly, one thing that upsets me is the lack of communication between doctors. Like, my psychiatrist will not speak to my therapist, even though their offices are right down the hall from each other. So they don't really get a sense of who I am because they're not even talking to each other about my sessions, and they're supposed to. But aside from that, they're also supposed to be talking to my primary doctor. And there's no communication there, even through email, even though they all have permission from me to talk to each other because of the fact of that's the best way for me to get that. Now, aside from that, sometimes doctors make it difficult to speak to them. Like, they make it difficult to communicate with them. And also, like, some patients just don't feel comfortable with their doctors. Now, for those of you listening, know this. You have a right to go past your doctor, speak to the higher up, and just change your doctor. You have a right to feel comfortable with who you're working with. At the end of the day, your doctor is working for you. It's for your mental health, for you to feel comfortable. Like, your doctor should probably be like your best friend. It's supposed to be someone who you can tell everything to. If you wanted to tell your doctor that you robbed a bank, legally they can't tell anybody that you robbed a bank. As long as you're not causing physical harm to anybody, they technically can't say anything. I'm not saying go rob a bank and tell your doctor, but I'm just saying just think about these things. I don't know what to say after that. But another thing is it's so costly. So one of the things that I've been trying to look for on this damn site is my top 10s list that I misplaced. So please give me a moment while Goddess continues to give her fun facts.
That's another thing for the people who do not have insurance. It is very costly. And that's another thing that would, deter somebody from actually seeking help. And that's really sucks. I mean, those people doing that job should be getting, paid. So I'm not saying they should do it for free, but there should be more simpler ways for those in need to at least be diagnosed. Many factors can lead to mental illness, including genetics, physical illness or injury, and traumatic life experiences. Many people do not seek treatment for mental illness due to the associated stigmas. Only 44% of adults with diagnosable mental illnesses receive treatment. And that's another thing for those who, are fearful of even finding out because of stigmas. Like, they're worried about what people will think or how they'll view themselves after. It's a hard pill to swallow. I know that. But trust me, it's worth it to know and be able to effectively treat yourself.
The other day, I had posted about how 1 in 6 Americans take some psychiatric drug, and there's, if I remember correctly, 331 million Americans, and if you do the math, that's about 55 million Americans that take some sort of mental health medication. And why did I mention that on my stories? Because I believe that if people take that road and decide to at least get diagnosed, well, if they tell you have to take some psychiatric drug, you know that there is someone, at least one person, at least technically, there's at least 55 million other people who are on that same exact road with you. You're not alone in this world. And that's why we do these things. We do these podcasts for everyone to know that you're not alone. There's someone out there with you. Anybody who does a podcast does it so you know that you're not alone. There's other people who do these things and are interested in these things with you.
Right. Absolutely.
Can I just say that I am so happy that I sent you the link, because if I didn't, I would have probably never found this, I probably would have never found this top 10 ever again.
I can't.
Because this is
treatment for mental. Yeah. Treatment, see things work out. Treatment for mental health problems doesn't only consist of prescribed or OTC medication. For those of you who are like, I don't want to be on no medication, because that's me, I do. The only disorder that I suffer from is anxiety, and it's like my fucking arch nemesis.
Yeah.
But I am anti-fucking medication, so I do use my own therapy, such as meditation and music. Those are my top 2. But there's other ways, like totally behavioral therapy. Got you guys.
Sorry.
It's okay.
But I totally agree with you. When I'm not going to say that anxiety is minor. Totally not saying that. But when it's like you have like one, 2 diagnoses, things like that, especially when it's anxiety, something that can be managed very simply with meditation, calming yourself down, breathing. There's a lot of different coping mechanisms for anxiety. I am anti-medication for things like that. But things like schizophrenia, when it comes to personality disorders, those are the times where I'm like, bro, it's time to go to a doctor and say, I need drugs. Because I know for a fact that I'm diagnosed with personality disorders, and there was 7 years straight in my life where I tried to do the no medication thing.
In some situations, that's
yeah, because at 19, I got diagnosed, and I was like, and then 2021, I was still drinking, so I wasn't gonna do medication while I'm drinking, because that's obviously gonna kill me, right? So I'm not doing that. So I'm gonna live my life to the fullest. 7 years, I tried to manage, and as well as I did manage, I still wasn't managing to the best of my ability. So I decided to go back to doctors and go back on my medication. And everybody around me was like, okay, you're thinking a lot more clearer. You seem to have a better head on your shoulders. And even I realized that, I felt like the world slowed down a bit, and I was able to notice more, and I felt like I spoke more clearly. I stuttered a lot less. And the medication helped me slow down, which made me realize when people say that they feel more zombie-like on medication, it's probably that those people were probably misdiagnosed with something. I don't think those people were diagnosed with something that was supposed to be like, all right, I'm hyperactive. I'm, too fast for my own good.
You work with your physician to find the right fit, right? Something like that.
Yes, so my doctor started me off on the lowest dosages of my medication and then increased me on one at a time. They don't increase you on both at the same time. If your doctors do that, you have stupid doctors.
Yeah.
Like your doctor's supposed to get this. Yes, your doctors will give you combinations of medications if they feel like it doesn't, and they will increase you on dosages one at a time and see how it reacts. They will ask you how you are doing with your medications. And the important thing, you guys, like in every relationship, communication and honesty. I repeat this in almost every podcast, minus the one with video games, because gamers don't have relationships. We're lonely. I'm joking.
You man. Seriously though, guys, don't let the fear of being labeled with a mental illness prevent you from seeking help. Treatment can provide relief by identifying what's wrong, reducing your symptoms that interfere with your work and personal life. The stigma doesn't just come from others, and I know this. You may mistakenly believe that your condition is a sign of personal weakness and that you should be able to control it without help. This is not true, guys. Not in the slightest.
Let me tell you guys something, right? Oh, sorry.
If you have a mental illness, you may be reluctant to tell anyone about it. Your friends, your family members, whoever you close to. But you should reach out to people you can trust. For the compassion and support and understanding that you need. In other words, don't isolate yourself.
Yeah. So the only time that I isolate myself is when I tell, I can't, I need time to think about how I'm gonna word things to people. Like, I tend to be really quick at the mouth and very sharp tongue. So I'm like, I don't want to hurt the people that I care about. So let me step back before my sharp tongue cuts some ties.
Right.
But let me tell you guys something. When I found out that I had some mental disorders, right? My mother and my father both told me that I shouldn't talk about it. I shouldn't tell people about it because people are going to look at me differently. And Kiara did what Kiara does best. She did not shut the fuck up. I told everybody, I was like, I have issues, and I'm sorry if I come across a certain way. Understand that it isn't with malintent. Blah blah blah. Like, I know how to speak. I know how to, communicate with people. Now, again, it comes across to the whole, how are people going to react to me thing. If people don't react to me well, that's obviously their own issues. That had nothing to do with me. Because my issues were my issues. My mental health is my problem that I have to handle. But I don't know how I'm supposed to react to people if they don't say something. Like,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. We do this all the time. When I first meet people, I tell them, hey, listen, I have a habit of talking a lot, and, if ever you feel like I'm doing too much, please let me know. And some people think that I'm lying when I say, please let me know, and they won't tell me something and they'll get mad later. No, I am fully aware of myself and my mental habits and things like that. So I have to give these warnings. And that's the thing. Anybody with mental health issues who is diagnosed and actually cares about their diagnoses, because I know some people who have been diagnosed and they just throw that shit up into the wind and walk around acting all crazy. They just...
Right.
Yeah.
I completely support your decision to share it.
Oh yeah, because earlier I posted today about how I live with someone who had, like my mom. Everybody in our family is genetically bipolar. Some have been diagnosed and refuse to take their medications. Some are diagnosed, my biological mom, because others know I'm adopted. I'm a whole novella.
It's deep.
But
It's deep. Yeah.
Yeah, my biological mom is bipolar. I got it from her genetically, and she's on her medication. She takes care of herself. But the mother that I live with, she's undiagnosed. She refuses to go to a doctor, so she doesn't get medication. And I posted today. I was like, living under those conditions as a child is it's kind of like being a child, raising a child, and now being an adult. It's like seeing that you didn't raise that child correctly because it's still bad. It's an untreated disease. You know, it's kind of like, think of it like diabetes. When you go with diabetes untreated, it just gets worse.
What happens? It progressively gets worse, right? Because I never had the disorder. I started out with just a little anxiety here and there. And now it's like years
people
later.
Don't realize that some mental disorders vary. Like some are just behavioral issues, and behavioral disorders vary from mental disorders that are chemical imbalances in the brain, where you can't control that. You do need medication to kind of balance that out.
Yeah, definitely. That's what it
why
is.
can't you control yourself? Because God messed up my DNA.
Damn it! I had a thought, and I'm trying to remember what I was about to say.
I'm sorry. I'm so passionate about this, and I just keep talking and talking.
No, that's fine. It's just that's why I be cutting you off sometimes, because I'll forget because of my memory issue. Anyway, guys, you can. There's multiple ways that can help you feel more comfortable when you are diagnosed. You know, you could join support groups. They have many. You could get help at a school or a community center. Or you can even speak out like Kiara is. That's what I was gonna say. The reason I respect so much that you're willing to let people know is because psychologically speaking, that says a lot about you. The fact that you don't want to affect people in a way without them understanding says that you care about how you do affect people. And like you said, the people who know they have a problem and just they don't explain it to people generally don't be like, she or he must act like this because they have this disorder. Then they don't think like that. So don't expect them to be like, that's just like people who are aware of people with these problems and expect them to act differently. Like, that was the best, like the movie Joker. The reason I really love the movie the most is because the message is it's just so strong, but it's also clear. We do this in our everyday lives. Like, people who have even just PTSD, like the way they function, or
that's the other one I have. It could
be the smallest mannerisms, right? That I have too, but like I don't want to get
the other one I'm diagnosed with right there.
The fact is, don't expect somebody with a mental health issue not to act like they don't have one. Okay? If you know somebody who has, let's say, social anxiety, and you take them to a social setting, do not expect them to be
talk to people,
the life of the party. Okay? You cannot expect this of these of people with these problems, because they're not that simple. If they were, they wouldn't be diagnosed with them or seeking treatment for it.
That's like taking a white person into the kitchen and telling them to season the chicken and expecting it to be seasoned properly. Like, what? There's only salt on that bitch.
You're terrible.
Just a little bit. I'm sorry. You guys, jokes are my coping mechanism.
Chill. They don't really fuck with adobo. I don't fuck with that shit.
I'm sorry, Karen.
He's
All
so
right.
insane. I
Let me
mean,
get to my top 10
we
real
could.
quick.
Yeah, go for it, cause I'm done on this subject.
All right, you guys. So, my top 10 most common mental health diagnoses. Um, Number 10, alcohol dependency. Uncomplicated, meaning, that.
Alcoholism.
No. So, believe it or not, there's two versions of alcoholism on this list. There's alcohol dependency and alcohol abuse. I'll explain I will explain the difference. Alcohol dependency is basically what I used to be when I was an alcoholic of sorts. It's I drink to feel good and forget about my problems. That I have to drink again so I can feel drunk. You know. So basically, it's a every now and then drinker, but when I drink to get drunk and blackout drunk. Alcohol dependency. Or at least when I looked it up, that was the gist of it. Alcohol abuse is someone who can basically drink every day of their fucking life and not care about liver failure. That's the functional alcoholics. That's the most common used term for that. But that's just the difference there. There's another one on the list that's going to sound very common. They're going to sound very similar. I will explain the difference when they come up. But number 10 is alcohol dependency, uncomplicated, which means that you're not going to have the liver failure just yet. And the amount of people that are diagnosed with this is 269,772 people. And the average cost per claim on that is $4,116. Yeah, insurance, you guys. You don't have insurance, having an alcohol dependency issue. That's a lot. Number 9, generalized anxiety disorder. I don't know what the generalized part is. Perhaps it could be the anxieties, the sub-anxiety disorders and other disorders. Get it? Generalized anxiety. The people diagnosed with that is 323,854, and the average cost per claim is $938. Number 8, alcohol abuse, uncomplicated. Again, uncomplicated meaning without the liver failure, the kidney, what alcohol would do to the body. 362,381 cases, and the average cost per claim, $1,532. Number 7, bipolar disorder, unspecified. So, bipolar disorder comes in two different categories. Bipolar 1, I believe, is manic. No, bipolar 2 is manic depression, which is what I have, which means the highs and the lows. Bipolar 1 is, I think it's just straight up real depression. I'm just sad all the time, if I remember correctly. Don't quote me on that though. The amount of people diagnosed in the U.S. is 364,438, and the average cost per claim is $4,805. Number 6, major depressive disorder, also known as MDD, and this one is recurrent, severe without psychotic features. So what they mean by recurrent is this form of a depressive disorder means that you will have multiple episodes throughout your life. It will happen again and again and again. Severe without psychotic features means, that again, it's severe because you're going to have it throughout your life. And without psychotic features means you're not going to go on a killing spree at the very least.
Right.
Yeah.
I learned all of the B's. There's a lot.
Yeah.
And these are just the top 10, guys. Like I said.
The amount of cases are 382,329. The average cost per claim, $4,875. Number 5, unspecified dementia without behavioral disturbance. The amount of cases, 422,476. The average cost per claim, $3,125. So what this means is basically you're getting older, starting to lose your memory a little bit, but it hasn't like changed your behavioral patterns. It hasn't changed your habits or anything like that. So you're just losing your mind a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, nicotine dependence, unspecified and uncomplicated. So what I'm assuming this means is like you just quit cigarettes, so you're using like vape pens with nicotine and your nicotine patches, etc., etc. Because it says nicotine dependence unspecified, right? This is number 4, and the amount of total diagnoses are 442,585. The average cost per claim is $219. Now, nicotine dependence, cigarettes, uncomplicated, meaning I'm not dying just yet of cancer. The total diagnoses, now listen to how this number skyrocketed. Are you ready? 1,047,672. The average charge per claim is $261. Ooh, imagine $261,000 for cigarettes. Who's smoking that much? A lot
I don't know. I don't do those drugs.
I don't do them anymore. I'm like, when was October? That much clean.
Finish your list before we answer this question. Go ahead.
Number 2. This is Goddess's favorite one to mention. Anxiety disorder, unspecified. The total.
It's my very unfavorite.
I mean, that's your favorite one to mention, not your favorite one. The total amount of cases is 1,174,335, and the average charge per claim is $1,019. So if we did that math, that's like what, $1 billion basically that they make off anxiety, something like that.
I mean, the mental health business is a very prestigious one, but
I bet you that's why they so.
It's rightfully so, man, because
the cost of living.
It's a hard job, but it's a hard job.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely hard to learn.
I'm a bit depressed. I don't know, like, what can I do to relieve it? Like, I've looked it up, I've like tried everything, but maybe I've come on this app and maybe you guys can help me.
Last
one on the list. Hold on.
Wait, it's number 1.
Go ahead. I want to rebuttal to his thing. Go ahead.
Number 1, and then we're going to answer that question because that's a very important question. So, number 1 is major depressive disorder, single episode. So what this means is basically like people who were lucky enough to get their first episode diagnosed, but it's not like it wasn't recurrent after that. 1,219,751, and the average charge per claim was $2,817. So that means like $2 billion.
Whoa.
Just that. All right.
Crazy.
Oh, so on average they make. I missed it because I wasn't on the app reading that.
Was something? Wait. I'll see you right now.
I'm sorry, you guys. It's terrible.
Roadman. What's first of all, I don't know if you're still listening, but if you got off, I just want to say, whatever's troubling you, whatever's making you feel like shit, you have to make yourself find your happy place. And what I mean by that is, whatever's therapy for you that's not toxic. I'm not saying go drink a bottle of whiskey. I'm not saying the only thing that I will condone is marijuana. If you're gonna go smoke a spliff, that's probably gonna help you some. But anything else toxic, no. I mean meditation, I mean music, I mean exercise, I mean working, whatever keeps your mind busy away from that brings you joy, you should do. And you're the only one who controls your thoughts. And I know it's not easy, trust me, I know firsthand, but you gotta think positive. Just throw positive thoughts at yourself.
Don't worry.
It all starts from within.
Be happy.
Like, basketball takes my mind off of everything. Like, if I just kept doing that more and more, would that, like, is that basically my happy place?
So, the way that I usually get over my depression is I have a rule, right? Whenever I feel my depression coming, and Goddess hears me like on our group chat, and even I tell her straight up, I'm like, for example, the podcast. She was like, all right, anytime that we had a podcast and I wasn't feeling up to it, she's like, we can reschedule it. I was like, no, I have a rule, and that's I have to do at least one productive thing, and I will focus on the fact that I did at least one productive thing during my depressive moment, because that makes me feel good. Because what does your depression do? Your depression makes you feel your depression makes you feel like crap. It makes you not want to get out of bed. It makes you not want to move. It makes you not want to do this. It makes you not want to do that. So you have to fight that by doing one productive thing. Whether that's I'm gonna do grocery shopping. I'm gonna put on regular dress clothes. Like, have you ever just been home all day and you're like, damn, I've been in my pajamas all day? Like, that's not progressive at all. Take a shower. Put on like jeans and a t-shirt just to be in your house and just see where that takes you. Like, it's just those little things, those tiniest little progression things that will help you take the first step out of your funk. For me, it was I went to the grocery store and bought a pack of herbal tea, and that tea has been making me happy.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
She's right. I hope you feel better though, man. The basketball, that's great. Do it. And when you can't do it, play the game. The game's fun too. I don't know if you're a gamer like us, but those definitely take your mind elsewhere as well.
Ooh, if you can't play basketball, you know what you can try and do? Stimulate your mind. Try puzzles. I know that a lot of people aren't into those types of things, but even like on your phone, like one thing that people don't do enough is find a way to stimulate your mind. The best way to fight your depression is to fight where it starts. Fight your mind.
Oh, she's right. And you know what? I just remembered. I was doing something for one of my classes, and they made us use this app, which I highly recommend for anyone, because you could be totally anonymous and you could just tell strangers from around the world or whoever is in your chat room about your problem, and they'll be there for you. They'll support you. You can basically, whatever's wrong with you, you write it out, and people will join your room and support what's going on with you. And trust me, it works. It's a great way to just go undercover, so you don't have to feel any type of self-conscious. It's called Therapeer. The app is called Therapeer. Check it out.
When you post this on YouTube, I think maybe if you can post the link to the app on the link on the description.
Yeah, I gotta remember that. Yeah.
Definitely. I do. Because I think that's really dope. Sometimes if you can't talk to a doctor, talking to someone who may be going through the same thing, or just someone who's similar to you, someone your age group, someone that you just trust in some way, or a total stranger. Maybe that's why drunk people walk up to you on the street sometimes. I remember there was one time I was I think on Gun Hill, and I just saw this drunk lady. I knew that I could just tell that she wasn't bad. She wasn't trying to do anything bad. She just came up to me with a smile on her face, wobbly walking and everything. And she just wanted to vent about some dude doing her dirty, and you could tell that's why she was drinking. She just wanted it off her chest. Sometimes people just want to talk about it. I never just dismiss the loud people in New York until it's all right, you're just being ridiculous. Sometimes they just want to talk, and sometimes they just need it. So I my best piece of advice, you guys, sometimes the best thing you can do is listen. Well, how about instead of wondering how you can fix your own problems. How about listening to someone else's, and maybe that'll help you out. Sometimes the best thing you could do to make you feel good is help someone else, and that'll make you feel good. One of the best things I ever do is pay it forward. Paying it forward makes me feel so good. You know, doing something good for others. I don't know, it's like the best feeling for me. I remember one day I walked into the bodega, and it was on Christmas Day. On Christmas Day, I walked into the bodega. I just happened to have 50 cents. Some dude was like, "Oh, how much for an egg and cheese on a roll?" And the dude at the bodega was like $2.50. The guy didn't have the 50 cents. I was like, "Here for his egg and cheese," and that just made me feel good. And I was having a crappy day on Christmas. I was bah humbugging, and I was still like, you know what? I'm not gonna be Scrooge. Here's the 50 cents for your egg and cheese. You don't owe him nothing now. Something so simple, and it changed my day just because I made someone else's day.
Yeah. Oh, that was good. That was good. Yeah. You guys, for those of you who don't have a mental illness or are not familiar with it whatsoever, try to be more compassionate when it comes to dealing with people who have them or who could potentially have one. You know, if you see someone is not acting right, or, you know, whatever's considered normal, try to be a little easy. Like, you never know. They might not even know.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway,
you know what's one thing I hate? I hate the term.
What?
Oh my God, they acting bipolar. First of all, no, they're not acting bipolar. Technically, they're acting schizophrenic if they're not acting like their personality.
Right.
But even then,
that's ignorant shit.
It's like saying someone is acting bipolar is like saying, yo, that's gay. It is an offensive term in the mental illness community, you guys. And if we're gonna be all sensitive about things, we can at least be sensitive about people who probably literally flip on you if you say the wrong thing.
Yeah. Facts. Well, that's all I have to say about that. You good, Kiara?
Yeah, I think we've said everything. I think we've given all the facts we can, and I think we've changed the world as much as we can for today.
Alrighty. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next week. You guys already know BMF_Goddess on IG, BMF Goddess on YouTube. And Kiara, her name here, it's the same on IG. Hit her up.
Take care, you guys.
Good night. May the force be with y'all.